taking crazy pills!
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media, with new episodes dropping every Monday and Friday. I am Ross Bolen, and that was an overall pretty shitty weekend of Houston sports. We will be talking both Texans and Astros, and frankly, there will be a glaring lack of positivity throughout the course of today's show. Happy Monday! Let's start with the Astros, who dropped 2 of 3 games in Arlington and now sit at a record of 78 wins and 66 losses, which puts them just 2.5 games up on the Mariners and 4 games up on the Rangers in the AL West. Friday night was a good game of baseball, tied 3-3 going to extras, but when Lance McCullers Jr. came in for the bottom of the 12th, you can't have felt too good as an Astros fan. Rangers rookie Dustin Harris walked it off with a double to right, and that was that. Rangers win 4-3. Colton Gordon was solid for 4 innings as the starter for the Astros. Most of the bullpen was great, with blue balls number 69, King, Abreu, Kimbrel, and Okert all keeping a clean sheet, but in the end, LMJ gave up the walk-off, and that's an L. On Saturday, the Astros offense finally showed back up to score 11 runs and win a huge matchup of aces between Hunter Brown and Jacob deGrom. We got a Christian Walker solo ding-dong in the 3rd, Yordan Alvarez solo ding-dong in the 5th, Yanir Diaz RBI in the 6th, Yordan, Jake Myers, and Christian Walker RBIs in the 8th, Urias, Dubon, and Diaz RBIs in the 9th. It was beautiful. 11-0 shutout win for the good guys. Vibes were high. Hunter Brown was dominant. De Los Santos, Murray, and Van Way held down the bullpen with 1 inning of no-hit, no-score baseball each, even though I don't know who those last 2 guys are. And we all felt good after this one. Great win. Inspiring win. Surely the type of win that carries over until at least the next day, right? Wrong. When it came time to win the series on Sunday, the Astros' Jekyll and Hyde ass offense once again failed to show up. Failed completely. Framber Valdez went 7 innings. Fortunately, managed to not intentionally cross up his catcher this time, but unfortunately did yield 3 earned runs all in the 6th inning with a couple of mistakes that he made. The Rangers actually took a 1-0 lead in the 2nd inning on a strikeout where the ball got by Yanir Diaz. Then Diaz slipped on the Texas T logo trying to retrieve said ball, and Dylan Moore scored. Rangers win the game 4-2 and win the series 2-1. The Astros are in danger of losing the silver boot for the first time in almost a decade. The Astros have lost 6 of Framber Valdez's last 7 starts, and the problems are all the same as they have been for weeks now, and that is why it's not very fun to talk about the Astros right now. It's the same shit, man. The same shit seemingly every series. Jose Altuve continues to slump his ass off, and yet he has not moved from the 3 spot in the batting lineup, which needs to happen at this point. Jeremy Pena and Yordan Alvarez, who both bat right before Altuve, remain our only 2 consistently reliable offensive producers. Bad at bats, selfish swings, refusing to work the count, allowing opposing pitchers to go deep into games. As a result, it's the same shit. That's what we're getting from the bulk majority of the Astros hitters almost every single game right now. And sure, there's a random 11-0 win sprinkled in when the Jekyll side of the Astros offense shows up, but that shit is sporadic. If this team can't all get on the same page offensively, it won't make a lick of difference if we win the division, because we ain't gonna do shit in the playoffs. That's that. Since losing Isaac Paredes to injury, the Astros have been one of the worst hitting teams in baseball. Less than 4 runs per game, tied for the lowest in all of baseball. And something insane like 3.7 pitches seen per at-bat, which is the 2nd fewest in all of baseball. Both of those things are very bad to see. Oh, we did get Jake Myers back. There's a positive. Off day for the Astros today, thank Christ. Then a 3-game series against the American League leading Toronto Blue Jays starts tomorrow. Prepare to sweat. Astros fans, prepare to sweat, because Sweaty September, trademark copyright, is officially in full swing now that we failed to win that Rangers series. If you turned to the Texans to quell your sports depression after the Astros stunk it up again on Sunday, you were severely disappointed. The Texans dropped their first game of the season in Los Angeles against the Rams, failing to score even a single solitary touchdown and losing 14-9. And I'm just going to cut right to the chase here. I'm going to cut right to the chase. This was an incredibly brutal letdown because you wait all offseason for your football team to come back. You get a new offensive coordinator in Nick Caley. You get rid of the toxic leader of the shabby offensive line in Laramie Tunsil. You pick up some more wide receivers, gain depth in the running back room, pending the return of healthy Joe Mixon, who could be out all season for all we know. You're excited to see C.J. Stroud get out there in his third season and show growth and make the jump to superstardom, and this bed shitting is what you got instead. It felt like deja vu. It felt like taking a time machine back to 2024. It felt like watching Bobby Slowick's offense, but maybe worse. It felt like a kick in the dick after all that anticipation because this team looks and feels exactly like it did last season. We even started the game with a holding penalty, then had a delay of game on 3rd and 17. And this is just on the first possession. Same old shit. The Texans ended up racking up 11 penalties for 80 yards, converted just 2 of 9 third down attempts on offense, gave up 1 interception and 1 game-ending fumble. Sad. Now, I want to pump the brakes because it was just one game. And this is the NFL, so we know overreacting to one game is stupid, but goddamn, that didn't make it any less difficult to watch. And that being said, it is a long season. It's a long season, a lot more football games to be played, and frankly, they can only go up from here. So I don't want us to go all doom and gloom, giving up on the season or anything crazy like that, but we do have to acknowledge the shortcomings. I will try to mix in some silver linings. In fact, we can start with one. The defense. As expected, the Texans' defense was extremely solid, especially when it came to stopping the run. Only 72 rushing yards from the Rams, but 224 passing yards. Our secondary is supposed to be one of our strong suits, but Puka Nacua still managed 10 catches for 130 yards, even with a busted-ass eye, which was bleeding all over his face and required mid-game stitches. Derek Stingley Jr. got banged up a little early on due to some friendly fire. That felt like an omen, seeing that. It looked like he was wincing a bit the rest of the game. Obviously, Stingley is, arguably the most important piece of our secondary, arguably one of the most important pieces to our team, period, but certainly one of the most important players on our defense. That did not help matters to see him dealing with some level of injury there. But the defense generally held it down. If you knew we'd hold the Rams to 14 points, you'd probably feel pretty good about our chances of winning that game. Unfortunately, the offensive line is still ass. C.J. Stroud is currently on pace to take 51 sacks this season, okay? He looked decent out there in stretches, but I certainly wouldn't say he looked comfortable. C.J. Stroud looked fairly uncomfortable the bulk majority of this game. Stroud finished 19 for 27 through the air. That's a 70% completion percentage when he was able to get the ball off. 188 passing yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 74.3 passer rating. All in all, a bit disappointing. I mean, the worst thing about C.J. Stroud continues to be that when he is sacked, it's never for like a 1 or a 2 yard loss. He was sacked thrice in this game for 13, 12, and 12-yard losses. 37 yards total lost on sacks as he scrambled backward. His pocket presence, his ability to help his pass protectors by working and moving in the pocket remains extremely lackluster. You can't blame it all on him, obviously, but he has got to be better when the pressure is on in that pocket. And so far, again, I don't want to blame it all on CJ because he hasn't had a good offensive line his entire NFL career so far. His first 2 seasons, the offensive line was the main problem on this team. It looks like that's probably going to be the case again. So he's never had an offensive line he could get comfortable behind and get into a rhythm with. And it's just... He doesn't have that like natural feel for, all right, when the pocket is closing, I move this way. You don't always move back, man. Sometimes you move forward when the pocket is collapsing, not back. And certainly don't fucking sprint the wrong direction. And if you're going to do that, make sure you have enough space between you and the pursuing defender to rocket the goddamn ball out of bounds. Good NFL quarterbacks, every single one I have ever watched, has the ability to recognize, okay, this play is fucked. I'm going to take a sack. I'm going to bomb this shit out of bounds, and we'll get him the next time. But Stroud, I don't think he did that once this game. He takes the sack every time, and it's always deep downfield and resulting in essentially a drive-crushing sack. That's what happened. Stroud was pressured pretty constantly. Receivers were generally guarded fairly well. You have to give a lot of credit to the Rams' defense, which was stout, no doubt. But the penalties in particular, stalling out or killing drives altogether with these penalties, that remains a huge issue as well. If I had to pick two things from this game that really alarm me, especially considering the last couple seasons, it would be the offensive line and the amount of penalties that we took. Doesn't that just sound like last year? That's why I'm so fucking bummed when this game ended. It's just like, okay, same old Texans. You know what I mean? Same friggin' huge glaring issues. The offensive line allowed 14 quarterback pressures and 3 sacks. That's a 41.2% pressure rate for the 7th worst pressure rate in week 1 so far. Obviously, there's at least one game left for Monday Night Football. I don't remember if they're doing 2 games tonight. I don't really care. Comparatively, the Indianapolis Colts, led by Daniel Jones, scored on all 7 of their offensive possessions on Sunday, becoming the first team since 1977 to do so. And yes, the Miami Dolphins suck ass and the LA Rams are decent at least. But by comparison, holy shit, this made me want to die. Daniel Jones? Ugh. Texans receivers got outgained by Puka Nacua alone. Texans receivers had 10 catches for 121 yards. Puka Nacua had 10 catches for 130 yards. How in the fuck did one guy on the Rams team out-receive our entire receiving core? How? How? Is it because Stingley was banged up after that possession early in the game? Are the rest of our secondaries not as good as we thought it was? How the fuck does that happen? I don't get it. We've got Nico Collins out there. We all know how great Nico can be. Clearly, they found a way to stifle him. Why the shit couldn't we do whatever they were doing to Nico to Puka? Or were we giving everybody else free fucking reign? We figured we'll guard everyone else and let Puka do his thing? I don't understand how Puka by himself gets 10 catches for 130 yards and our entire receiving core gets 10 catches for 121. That's just completely inexcusable. There's just nothing else to say about it. Nick Chubb, our starting running back with Joe Mixon out, managed just 60 yards on 13 carries. He looked freaking okay, I guess, but definitely didn't look like anything to get excited about. You know, Joe Mixon very much missed through one game here. Running game was stifled in the second half. Nick Caley, our new offensive coordinator, looking no better than Bobby Slowick there in terms of, like, that's what would happen to Slowick so often. Like, we'd get some momentum with the running game in the first half, second half non-existent, right? Nico Collins, like I said, mostly MIA, just 3 catches for 25 yards. Stroud did spread the ball around to 6 different receiving targets, but none of them managed more than 32 yards receiving. Rookie Jaden Higgins led all receivers with 32 yards. I guess there's some upside there. Like, hey, Higgins might be good, but that's not fucking ideal. Fairbairn looked good. That's nice. 3 for 3 on field goals with a long of 53 for all 9 of the Texans' points. 2 for 2 from 50-plus yards. Way to go, Fairbairn. Love to see that. We got to talk about the play that ended the game, essentially. Dare Ogunbowale gets the ball punched out when we've got a chance in the final 2 minutes to come down and for C.J. Stroud to lead a touchdown scoring drive and take the lead. I know we all felt it. Oh, shit, here we go. Now we've got a chance. And in the moment, we were led by that hope that it could happen. But in reality, we should have been looking at the scoreboard going, okay, we haven't scored a touchdown today. Do we really think we're going to score one in the final with a 2-minute drill here at the end of the game? So, of course, Ogunbowale, coughs up the football. Great punch out by their, what was his name? Landman, by the defender on the Rams. Great punch out. Got to give it to him. But still, you know this, man. You know this. This is it. Game on the line. Rule number 1, protect the rock. Bad, Ogunbowale. Very bad. So, it was a tough loss. DeMeco Ryans is clearly a good defensive coach. A great defensive tactician, even. But what we have seen from the rest of his teams, not counting the defense, through 2 full seasons in 1 game, hasn't been really overly impressive very often, okay? Defense, solid. Offense, sometimes solid. How many, what do you, 3 or 4 stellar offensive games thrown in over 2 full seasons and a game? Mostly meh. You know? Nick Caserio, clearly a gifted general manager as far as like filling out a roster, especially defensively, and making good draft picks. But the offensive line, still 3 years into this era, when we know, all right, we finally got at least a serviceable quarterback who maybe has a ceiling of greatness. Maybe is the first quarterback we've ever had that we think could lead us to an actual Super Bowl contention. And you still can't build a fucking offensive line around this guy? How is it that 3 years into this shit, the offensive line remains the biggest point of concern for the Houston Texans? How? I like Nick Caserio, but these are the questions. I like DeMeco Ryans, but these are the questions that we're going to have to start asking more and more every week, depending on how things go. And again, I stress, this is just one game. It's just so hard to come with anything positive today because of what I said earlier, all that anticipation for a new season and to see how things shake out. You know, we felt like we took steps in the right direction last year, but there were big stretches of last year that were really frustrating. It's why Bobby Slowick is gone. It's why Nick Caley is here. You expect that things will change with a new offensive coordinator, and yet Nick Caley's first game as offensive coordinator yielded the following distances on third down yesterday. Listen up. These were the distances on third down yesterday. 3rd and 22. 3rd and 5. 3rd and 7. 3rd and 7. 3rd and 16. 3rd and 3. 3rd and 8. 3rd and 19. 3rd and 9. 3rd and 11. Not great, Nick. Not great. This was tough to watch from the offense. Okay? And after the game, CJ Stroud is in the media talking about, quote, I think we could have practiced better. I got to hold my guys accountable. Dude, if this was year 1 of CJ Stroud, then yeah, I'm here to take quotes like that, you know, and be happy about it. All right, good. Yeah, he's at least recognizing that this was not an acceptable performance. What the fuck? Y'all worked the whole offseason and didn't practice well? Could have practiced better? You weren't locked in for this shit? Game 1 of a brand new season with a retooled offensive line and a new offensive coordinator, and y'all weren't locked the fuck in? How does that happen, bro? I don't understand that. That's difficult to accept as a fan. With all the excitement that went into this, you know, pregame, to see it unfold the way it did was sad. It was sloppy offensively. You know, you didn't see any big flashes. You didn't see any moments that made you go, oh, shit, okay, yeah. To not score a touchdown in game 1 is devastating to morale. Devastating. Now, maybe it'll light a fire under these guys' asses, and they'll come out and show us who they really are next week. Maybe. But, goddamn, as far as game 1 goes and setting the tone for the season, that wasn't what you want to see. That wasn't what you want to see at all. Got the Buccaneers at home opener, you know. We'll see what happens. Bucs aren't a bad team. I believe they won yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, which I will double check very quickly here. Yeah, they won 23-20 over Atlanta. Falcons not good either, so that doesn't tell us much. You got to come out and win the home opener, preferably convincingly so. Look, again, one game, not trying to get ahead of myself, but I will say this. If this is the standard that is set for this season, defense, borderline really good, borderline great, you know, I think it's safe to say it's a really good defense. Could be great. Offense fails to do their part. We lose a bunch of close games like we have been for a couple seasons in a row. By the end of the season, you will see DeMeco Ryans on the hot seat. I'm telling you right now. That's going to happen if this level of play continues on the offensive side of the ball. I don't, you know, perfect world. If you're the ownership, and this season once again is a disappointment or a failure in the eyes of ownership and the fans. You know, you could like dream of a situation where D'Amico gets put as the defensive coordinator and you find an offensive-minded head coach or something like that? Because that sounds like it would make more sense than what we've got going right now. I'm not saying we're going to get there, and I really, really hope we don't. I really love D'Amico Ryans. I loved him as a player. I love him as a coach. I love him as a man. But I don't want to see this shit anymore. I don't want to waste C.J. Stroud's prime wondering what could have been if we had a real offense, if we had a real offensive line that could actually block, if we had good offensive coaching that could actually teach C.J. how to operate within an NFL pocket, regardless of the fact that he's never really fucking seen one. Like, I don't want that. That's not the bill of goods I would like to be sold. I would like to see change. I would like to see something different. I would like to see blocking. I would like to see comfort in the pocket. I would like to see Nico Collins heavily involved in the offense every single fucking possession. Is there any reason that dude shouldn't be targeted at least once per possession? No. I would like to see Joe Mixon come back healthy, but that's at least 4 weeks off, if not more, if at all. So you can't rely on that. You got to rely on the running backs you've got now, one of which fumbled to end the game to destroy a potential game-winning drive in Ogunbowale. Chubb was fine or whatever. I can't even remember the third dude's name right now because I'm too fucking angry to think. But this was not it from the Texans. This was not it. This was unpleasantly mediocre and just didn't, I mean, come on. If you can't get up for game one, what can you get up for, dude? What's it take to get your little pee-pee hard if it's not game one of the new, fresh season in Los Angeles, in SoFi, playing the Rams, Sean McVay over there, Matthew Stafford, 3:30 slot in the afternoon just so we could watch the Astros lose before we tune in to watch the Texans lose. I don't know. If you can't get up for that, it worries me. It worries me a lot. So we'll see what this team is made of in the next few weeks. Okay, the Texans are 0-1 since C.J. Stroud wore that Seattle Mariners hat. I think that's of note. I said if they started the season 3-0, I would forgive him for that. Clearly, that's not happening. So, rough start, tough start. Have to say.
Oh, no! We suck again!
That's how it felt. That's how it felt. That's how it felt out there.
Oh, no! We suck again!
And I hope it's not true. I really hope it's not true, but that is how it felt on Sunday in the first game of this brand new Texans season. That will do it for today's show. Remember, we have new episodes dropping every Monday and Friday on youtube.com/@bangingthecan. You can also watch our show on Spotify now and listen on Apple Podcasts as well. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so you're notified every time we drop a new episode. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Throw us a like as well. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars. Write a couple sentences in the form of a positive review about our show. These things help us grow. If you're on Spotify, like I said, you can watch or listen now on Spotify. Regardless, please give us a 5-star rating on there as well. In that same vein, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Follow us on social media at Banging the Can, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads at Banging the Can. I'm Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolen. I will be back Friday to discuss the results of the Astros Blue Jays series and what to look for in the Texans home opener against the Buccaneers this upcoming Sunday. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.